Hey guys, the Bible talks a lot about the heart, and so it's probably important to know how to minister to it, how to allow the Lord to speak to it. And so part of what this ministry is all about is the different ways to speak to the heart, and in particular, heart brokenness. Jesus says that he came to bind up the brokenhearted and set the captives free. Let's talk about brokenheartedness. What is that? And what do you do with it? And what does it look like? Well, you picture like this is your heart. Satan is the father of lies, and those lies are very toxic, and they can have a pretty big impact on people. And let me give some examples. Let's say, for instance, that there's some really lame, crummy lie that's not even believable, and I can't even think of what one is. But let's just say that this is your heart, and the lie just whoosh, it's a clean miss, doesn't even affect it at all. You're like, whatever, not a big deal. Let's say that there's a lie that you could just completely buy into, completely get, and what it does is it just captures the heart, and you believe it wholeheartedly. There's yet another lie, a third type, where it hits the heart dead on, and that creates the heartbreak. Part of your heart believes it's true and totally buys into it, that I'm not good enough is a perfect example. Very common, I'm not good enough for whatever reason. So this part of your heart just holds all that pain and came up with certain life techniques to try to make life work, but you're trying to make it work out of this place of pain and I'm a victim and that sort of thing. Well, this other part of your heart doesn't believe the lie. And often when I'm ministering to people, I found out that this part of their heart is real angry and upset and ticked off and mad at the world, just mad at God and mad at people and mad at themselves and mad at this part of their heart that's too weak to do anything about it besides just hold pain. And so what I found out is that Jesus needs to speak to these two different parts differently. So how do you know when you're dealing with someone with a broken heart? Well, usually you'll hear a life event that just sounds horrific. Wow, that sounds really terrible. That sounds like it would break your heart. Wow, that really just hurts my heart to hear that. And so you start to look for some of that brokenheartedness. This part of them holding pain and part of them trying to protect this other part. And so you'll literally hear people speaking this out all the time, but it won't necessarily come up in a counseling context. It'll be something just casual, like, well, part of me wants to do this and part of me wants to do that. Not every time when somebody says that speaks of brokenheartedness, but a lot of times it does. So something that I found that really speaks to that is just simply asking them, hey, what broke your heart? And oh my gosh, does that bring up the emotions? And now it's game time. And they're starting to talk about their pain, and then you start to talk about their anger. If you watch carefully, you'll see their countenance shift. And really, you're talking to almost to two different subconscious platforms, if you will. This one holds on to a lot of hurt, and this one holds on to a lot of pain, and their life strategies are very different. So if they look at a situation and goes, okay, I need to be more protective here, or I need to just play the victim card, that's how it'll play out. The answer for this is that we talk to Jesus, and Jesus will talk to each part differently. The scripture again is Jesus came to bind up the brokenhearted and set the captives free. So regardless if they had a heartbreak or they believe a lie wholeheartedly, Jesus is the one who brings not just the relief and comfort, but the healing. He is the one who is our answer. Something that's very powerful is knowing how to speak to brokenheartedness. I find that sometimes you even have to put the person at ease before the Lord can even have the opportunity to speak to it. That it's such a tightly bound up subject sometimes that they got all this pain, but this angry part of their heart is protecting it, that it's hard to speak to this stuff. Or you find that you start to minister to the person, but you keep bumping into this resistance that's coming from over here. Well, not only does Jesus have to speak to two different parts differently, but I found that it's very practical for the minister to do so as well. And it's simply saying, hey, Mary, it sounds like that this part of your heart just carried so much pain for you over these years so you could function. And this part of your heart just kind of did a very protective role for you. I just want to say thank you to both of them. And I want to tell that part of your heart, thank you for holding on to that so that you could live life as normally as possible. I want to tell that other part, thank you for protecting and doing such a good job of making sure that you're not hurt further. Can this part of your heart kind of step out of the way a little bit so Jesus can speak to this part? Or simply ask, hey, I wonder what it is that Jesus would like to speak to this part of your heart that's so angry. Let's go ahead and address that right now. Many times speaking to this angry side first kind of calms things down and gives the opportunity for Jesus and this part of your heart to kind of team up, if you will. And then it gives the opportunity to speak to where the pain is.